Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today's video is all about rhythm guitar, specifically blues rhythm guitar. I often think that one of the main factors that determines whether you're listening to a great blues band or just a mediocre run-of-the-mill act is what the rhythm guitarist's doing, because they've got quite a tricky job. They've got maybe 2 hours worth of material, which is essentially a bunch of songs that all have basically the same chord sequence, a 12-bar blues. And it's easy to fall into the trap of doing everything with either this, maybe the odd ninth chord thrown in, or just strumming a seventh chord. Like that, okay? But there's so much more that you can do. I could have done 30 different techniques in this video, but what I've done is I've picked my favourite 3 that I think are going to be the most use to you. Just ways of spicing up and giving a bit more variety to playing a regular 12-bar blues. So we're going to start off with a handy little dominant 7th chord vamp that will fit in pretty much any blues context. Here's some info. Okay, so let's have a look at this 7th chord vamp. Basically what we're going to do is play, as you can see in this diagram, the root note on the 6th string with the thumb. Then we play this major triad 2 frets above that with the 3rd finger. Then we go to the triad 2 frets below that at the same fret as the root note and play that, and immediately hammer on to the major 3rd of the chord on the 3rd string with the 2nd finger, like this. So you string that all together and you get, and then you can just plod through a 12-bar blues sequence just by moving that up and down the neck, very much like this. And there you have it, handy little dominant 7th chord vamp. Now, another very useful little technique that you can use is tritones, okay? Don't panic, it's nowhere near as baffling as it sounds. I'll tell you what, here's an explanation and a demonstration. Okay, here are the 3 chords typically found in a 12-bar blues in the key of A. We've got an A7, a D7 and an E7. Now, upon closer inspection, you notice that each one of these chords has this little shape in common. This is known as a tritone, because within each chord, the notes that are highlighted there are a tritone apart. A tritone is just a fancy way of saying 6 frets, because it's 6 semitones, which is the same as 3 tones or a tritone. And what we can do is slim the chords down to just these double stop pairs like this. Basically, we can assume that the bass player or someone else in the band is going to be playing the remaining notes in the chord, and these are all we're going to use to play kind of a facsimile, if you like, of the chord sequence by using these shapes. And what becomes interesting here is you can see that all you got to do to turn the A7 shape into the D7 shape is move it down a fret. And all you got to do to turn the A7 shape into the E7 shape is move it up a fret. And if we take a look at the notes that are in these chords, then it becomes a little bit more apparent. You can see in the A7 chord we've got G and C sharp. They are 6 frets apart. In the D7 chord we've got F sharp and C. They are 6 frets apart as well. And in the E7 chord we've got G sharp and D. Once again, 6 frets apart. So by moving these shapes up 6 frets, guess what happens? They invert. Okay, what was in the A7 chord the G note has now become the C sharp, because it's moved up 6 frets. And what was the C sharp note has become the G because it's moved 6 frets. And the same thing happens in the D7 chord. The C note now is what the F sharp note used to be, and the F sharp note now is what the C note used to be. And in the E7 chord, what used to be the G sharp note on the 4th string has now become the D, and what used to be the D note on the 3rd string has now become the G sharp. So you've got 2 locations on the neck where you can play these, and you can kind of flip and flop and go between them and get a rhythm guitar part that might sound a little bit like this. And finally, let's take a little bit of a look at the topic of chord substitution. This is basically playing one chord or another chord over the top of the chord that's actually expected to be there, if you see what I mean. Anyway, here's some information and you'll figure it out. Okay, if you wait around for long enough, eventually you'll end up talking about the modes in any musical analysis of anything, to be honest. And it's no different in blues. Blues is based on 7th chords, which are in themselves a suggestion of the Mixolydian mode. So an A7, as you can see here, suggests the A Mixolydian mode, which contains the chords of A7, B minor, C sharp diminished, D major, E minor, F sharp minor, and G major. A D7 chord in the same way suggests the D Mixolydian mode, which contains a D7, an E minor, F sharp diminished, G major, A minor, B minor, and C major. And likewise, the E7 chord suggests the E Mixolydian mode, which is E7, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished, A major, B minor, C sharp minor, and D major. Now, what we're going to do here is use some of these chords from each mode to kind of suggest the A7, D7 and E7 chords, or, you know, extended versions of them. So what we're going to do, instead of playing an A7 chord at that point in the 12-bar blues, is we're going to play the E minor and F sharp minor chords. When we get to the D7 chord, instead of playing D7, we're going to play an A minor and a B minor. And when we get to the E7, instead of playing an E7 chord, we're going to play a B minor and a C sharp minor. Now, what you do to create these chords is you just use little 3-string triads like these here, and you can see the note I've circled in red is the root note, so it shouldn't be too difficult for you to find out which fret to take these shapes at to suggest the A7, D7 and E7 chords using the substitutions that we've documented. And if you do that, you could probably end up with a rhythm guitar part that sounds a bit like this. So there you go, 3 different techniques for adding variety to a blues rhythm guitar part. And here they all are demonstrated one after another over the same backing track. Now obviously you can mix those up with any of the other blues rhythm guitar techniques that you know, like that shuffle thing, or your ninth chord shapes, you know, that thing, and just create a whole host of approaches that you can bring to make every song not sound the same as the previous one in the set and the next one in the set. So I hope you found this informative, useful, and maybe even a little bit inspiring. And if you have, then why not hit the subscribe button and the notification bell and give me a like while you're at it. I'll just mention as well that I have a course on sale at the moment called Making the Modes Easy, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. It makes the whole topic of modes, which you've seen impacts in the blues a little bit, it makes it all into an easy to understand thing that you can use. Okay, what do you get? You get all the explanations in plain jargon-free English. You get all of the scale patterns you need. You get example solos demonstrated in close-up. You get the tabs for those solos, so you can rip off as many of the licks as you want, and you get a bunch of jam tracks as well to try all this stuff out over, and it's only $39.99. You can get it from there. It's up on the Udemy platform, so you can search for it there as well. And yeah, so there you go, $39.99, all that information, gotta be a bargain. Why not treat yourself? Or if you prefer some tailored one-to-one guitar tuition, face-to-face as it were, then give me a shout via the details at the end of this video. If you live on Teesside in the northeast of England, you can come along for a face-to-face lesson in this very room, or wherever else you are in the world, you can have a lesson via Skype. And whichever way you do it, as I'm sure you know by now, your first lesson is of course free, so you got nothing to lose. And with that, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching, and I do look forward to seeing you all again next time around. Bye for now, folks.